kind of diver are you? You're on a high dive. Are you a swan diver, backflip, or are you coming out with a cannonball?
I'm a cannonball girl.
So, Michelle, we got a little goofy intro, but are you ready?
I am ready. Are you ready?
Ty, you ready?
Sure.
All right. Timeout. Tyler, who are we taking the timeout with today?
Kevin, good to see you again, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 585-716 and the million, area codes where I am, we have Michelle Ashby, the founder and CEO of Tipping Point Communications. Michelle, thanks for being on the show. We're happy to have you. Going to fire some questions away. I really like to ask, though, Michelle, coming out of the gate to really get to understand our guest is, what kind of diver are you? You're on a high dive. Are you a swan diver, backflip, or are you coming out with a cannonball?
I'm a cannonball girl. Most definitely a cannonball girl.
Good. Okay. Noted.
So all right. Well, while we're asking you to come to the diving board, and we asked for the anthem, Michelle Ashby's anthem, what are you requesting that we play as you step out to that diving board?
Oh, all right. Well, my all-time favorite song that I say I'm gonna when I have my funeral, my girlfriends all know that they have to play the New Radicals. You only get what you give.
Yes. Don't give up. Yeah, dude. One chance left. That one. Yeah, Michelle, right on. Well, hey, if you're at your funeral right now, you can have 4 guests there of all time, but you're still sort of alive. You're a ghost. Who are those 4 guests?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I would say Martin Luther King Jr. I'd really love to meet him if he was alive. But apparently if I'm dead, we can all hang out together. I would say I would want my mom to be with me. She's still alive right now, but I'm sure she would be into seeing Martin Luther King. I always would love to have met Gandhi, and I would say Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Right.
Wow.
Solid.
All right.
Quite the eclectic group.
That is
quite. And we'd have lots to talk about.
So Tyler is flying back up from Dallas, Fort Worth area, and Michelle, you and I are picking him up from the airport, and you say we got to go try this food. What is your top spot in Rochester, and what's that top dish?
Yeah, Tapas, which is on St. Paul Street. My all-time favorite restaurant in town, and I always get the calamari salad with the calamari extra crispy.
Ooh.
And they get those olives filled with cheese, I think, there, y'all. Those
I know I've also had the mussel frites, those which are amazing. That place is just ridiculous.
I like the lighting. It's dark.
Yeah. It's dark, very dark.
Intimate.
Yeah, and you don't feel like you're really in Rochester. You can kind of walk into another country and just feel like you're on vacation for an hour and a half or 3 or 4.
Sometimes I need that
experience. Well, Michelle, say you're driving on, I don't know, 594. What is it? 490 to get from Buffalo to
that's the
Rochester.
90.
That's the 90.
Yeah. Okay. You have a billboard, right, that you're creating. What would you want your billboard to say for every passenger driving to work in the morning? What's your message?
Namaste.
Namaste. All right.
Namaste your day. Yeah. I honor the light in you, and the light in me honors everyone on their way to work. Be happy, be cool, love each other.
I'm feeling your energy this morning, Michelle. I'm on that island time vibe too. Don't sweat the small stuff. Hold the door for others. Do those small actions of kindness because you have no idea on how that is going to impact their day.
You don't know where people are and what they just dealt with.
Exactly.
The hour before them.
Unless we ask, and kind of given. Just looking at your history, I always find it fascinating to follow almost like your journey. But you started as an account executive. I started as an account executive. Tyler started as an account executive. Can you walk
Really?
us through what that was like coming out of college? We have big dreams, we have big aspirations, and then all of a sudden we become account executives. But what did you learn from that experience that has helped you to be that leader at Tipping Point today?
I have to say my account executive experiences were amazing. They were the best jobs ever. My first one was in Cincinnati for Gannett, and I was covering somebody who was out on maternity leave, and I had the downtown Cincinnati route.
Wow.
So every day I was walking in my high heels down the sidewalks to all these cool jewelry stores and retail stores, and those were my clients. And in my 20s, it was like Melrose Place at that time. So I was loving life. I was making a boatload of money. Then I met some people from the rock station in Cincinnati, and my job in print got a whole lot more interesting when I got into radio. Um, Working for a rock radio station in the 80s, 90s, which is, so I worked at multiple ones. It was the best job out of college anybody could have had. It was fabulous. We had concert tickets to every show that came into town. It was a huge market, so we had celebrities in and out of our studios. We had the Bengals, we had the Reds players in and out. Chris Collinsworth was just working down the hall. Boomer Esiason was like in and out of the office all the time, and just rock bands constantly in and out of the office. It was a blast. So that to me, I guess, would be my what I brought from that was that you just got to have fun, and whatever you choose to do, make sure that your job provides some fun for you, and laugh and enjoy what you do, because you're going to be there many hours of every day.
Exactly why we do this, Kevin, right? To break the week up, have a good laugh with the CEO founder. And Michelle, thanks for sharing that. And Michelle, I haven't really done much homework. Like I said, I was up late last night with the baby girl. Can you dive in a little bit about I want to ask you how you got to Tipping Point, and when did you create it? Why did you create it? But can you give us a little briefing on what Tipping Point is?
Yeah, we're a full service ad agency now, but we started in 2005 as just a media buying company. So now we're doing everything from audio, video, branding, logo designs, to we're very, very specialized in public relations and all things related to pitching stories, crisis communications, all that. And we still do media buying. So
wow, that's a lot. I don't even know how you keep it all straight, because you're probably doing a lot of work given the crisis that we just went through during the pandemic. And I think kind of we're still in it. We're still seeing and understanding where that baseline is, but undoubtedly everybody seemingly evolved over the last 3 years, whether it's what they prioritize, what they are choosing to spend their time on, all of those things. How did you need to change as a leader during that time with your team because of the crisis, and you being an expert for your clients and navigating crisis and how to communicate effectively through it? Did you just turn a lot of those best practices internally? How did you navigate that turbulent time for your organization or the world? Excuse me.
yeah, it required a lot of meditation and self-reflection, that's for sure, because my driving type A personality really had to step back and think more about not only my family, but the families of everybody who works at Tipping Point. Not to mention our clients. I mean, there were people very, very sick all around us. Everyone who worked at the organization knew somebody or had somebody in their family that was suffering. And it just seemed like we all needed to slow down a lot, and take breaks. And that wasn't really part of my mantra at all at the office before then. Now, giving people the permission and the space to say, you know what, you've been on 3 hours of Zooms in a row. How about you just shut off the computer and go for a walk? And really changing the narrative about taking breaks during the day. I think was probably the biggest thing that changed at Tipping Point. And I always was saying to them, if I send you an email on a Sunday at 10 o'clock at night, it means that that's when I'm working, because I might have had to run my mother or somebody to the hospital because there was illness all around us. And to catch up, I might be working at 10 o'clock on Sunday, but I don't expect you to be working at 10 o'clock on Sunday. So we established this protocol on how we communicate and when we communicate. And I think we've tried to carry that forward as well, just making sure we're super clear that not everybody's on the same schedule anymore. That's one of the things that I think's changed since during the pandemic and has not changed after. That whole flex work environment isn't just about where you're working, it's when you're working. And Monday through Friday, yeah, is when the bulk of the work is being done. But people have kids they got to run around. You all know their kids up all night, crying and whatever. You may need to be doing work at that hour because at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you need a nap. So,
yeah.
So I would say that's probably the biggest.
That's powerful.
Adjustment.
And it seems like it just changing, I think, normalizing, I guess that reflection that it sounds like you had to do, and we all did, right? And I think I don't have work email on my cell phone after the pandemic for a reason, because I realized that was continuously where I would check, and you say, oh, I'm only going to check it for a minute. 45 minutes later, I put my head up and I'm like, holy cow, it's been 45 minutes later. Yeah. I was only supposed to check that for a minute. But that was really important for my mental health, where I needed that clear break between work and life. And it was easy during the pandemic where I could go into the office and my computer was open. And then you, again, would just, hey, I'm just going to look at my email. I'll just check my calendar for tomorrow. And then you get sucked in. So I totally get what you're saying, because I think I started to realize, hey, it's nice to do laundry during the day or some of these other things while I'm still being productive at work, because at the end of the day, we all still only have 24 hours in the day. So
a lot of things. First, Michelle, every awesome leader Kevin and I have ever met, they all say the same thing. And the word fun, it's like, what's your secret? And they're like, we make this fun. How do you make it fun around the office? What are some of your, do you have any like go-tos that we can steal from you?
I wouldn't say that I am the master of fun. I really count on my creative department to do that, because what's fun to a 55-year-old is not the same kind of fun for a 20, 30, even 40-year-old. So I kind of have given up on trying to be the court jester in our office, and I leave it up to the people who are actually fun.
I love it. And y'all do PR. That's always been so interesting to me, Michelle. What gets you out of bed in the morning nowadays? Like what gets you going? Like what is the next step for Tipping Point?
Yeah, it's always growth. For me, I wake up every morning and I'm like ready to go. And it's really about what is the next big win we're going to have for a client. So if we can help them grow, we're going to grow because of that. So it's like, okay, how are we going to get this TikTok video into the hands of the audience that this bank is trying to break into? You know, how do we develop a loyalty program or a way to get customers coming back or leaving reviews or um, from a PR perspective, what gets me up is the idea that more and more of our content can be uh, can use AI to speed up the process, and we can accomplish more and better work because we're tapping into technology to do it at a higher level.
Wow. I think you should say that again for Rochester. I think and for all businesses in leadership right now is to celebrate some of the advancements in technology and AI and start to look on how we can use them simultaneously alongside a human at the end of the day. But to your earlier point, if they're bogged down in the administrative tactical work, that's not really why you're hiring there at Tipping Point Communications. You're hiring them for their creativity, their innovation, their insights, their ideas. And that sometimes if it's too labor intensive on the not fun stuff, that's quickly where we say, is this really what I want anymore? Is this what I enjoy? I wanted to go back to one of the things that you said, because you said you wake up ready to go. Tyler's one of those people that strikes me up as wakes up ready to go, right? What are you telling yourself? What is that morning affirmation or that daily intention that you are setting for yourself?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it's just you can do it.
Wow.
It's very simple. Yeah. I have a mantra, you know, from my meditation practice, but that really doesn't tie to what I'm telling myself every day. It's more about, you know, calming the racket in my head because, you know, there's always something going on that I'm thinking about. But I think it's just you can do this. You got this.
Yeah, I
Have
love it.
fun with it.
And have fun. And kind of, I guess, to dive a little bit deeper into meditation. You talked about that first career of yours. You said I was making ungodly amount of money, probably more money than I ever thought. That was, I mean, I didn't have a lot of money in college. So my first job that I was making money was like, oh my God, money, money, money. But then I started to realize, and maybe again, back to the pandemic and kind of that self-reflection, I was forced off that hamster wheel. It started to, I guess, look at happiness and look at my energy and my self-reflection that money really wasn't what was bringing me happiness. When did you come to that same point? Because you talk about meditation, your health is your wealth. I can tell, Michelle, and that's very apparent from you being reflective and meditating and focusing on mental health and even normalizing the conversation to have some of that direct feedback with your employees tells me that you've done a lot of work on yourself. Tyler said a lot of great leaders that we've talked to say they make it fun. I see it as, yes, they make it fun, but they know who they are as a person and are comfortable with that. When did you find yourself? When did you say money is not what makes me happy? And these are the things that make me happy?
Yeah. So about 4.5 years ago, I went through a divorce. And as a business owner, you can imagine the complexity of the financial situation when you split assets like that. So, you know, in essence, I had half of what I had, you know, 2 weeks before, right? And it was a real adjustment, very humbling. You know, I had to sell some things that I valued that were important to me. I had to change a lot of my shopping habits and my recreational habits. And that is when I realized that I have enough. I have enough, and I don't need anything more. You know, I value more now than I ever have my family and the amount of time that I have with them. So I don't have my boys all week long. I only have them for 3.5 days each week. So when I'm with them, I am with them. And work became the back seat because I missed them so much on the days that I didn't have them. I wanted to make sure that I spent quality time with them. Same thing with my mom. Like I lost my stepdad around that same time, and those things really affected me and caused me to consider what's really important. And so, long story short,
That's
it's
powerful.
quality time. It's all quality time. I don't need anything else. I don't need gifts. I don't need to go buy anything. We need groceries.
Yeah.
I need a car that gets me from here to there. I do need a boat to sit and enjoy the water, but it doesn't need to be a big boat. It can be a small boat, and I can still be just as happy.
That's amazing. I think thanks for sharing that story and walking us through kind of that journey that you went through. And you said, I have enough. And I also sounded like that you were convincing yourself that you yourself were enough at the same time. And I think that that's a powerful moment and empowering because I think Tyler, and I bring it up on almost just about every show, but sometimes you need those moments to really figure out who I was. I was pretending. I think I was a chameleon. I was assuming what that other person wanted me to be and trying to be that perfect image. And then you realize why I was exhausted at the end of the day. So I started to reflect and say, you know what, that's not me. That's not who I am. It feels like work. And Tyler's like, Kevin, you should just be yourself. It's okay. Have fun, laugh. People take themselves way too seriously. And I really respect that about Tyler's because life is just more than work. And I think that I watched my father work himself. I thought that that's kind of the male role within the house. And then I started to take steps back and say, okay, what brings me happiness and what can I see myself doing? So I can definitely share in that same reflection and moment, but when I felt the most empowered was when Kevin knew who he was and could go into every situation and I wasn't changing. And then that was what made me feel better and I wanted more of it. But it required me to come out of my comfort zone, entering that learning zone and really start to figure out more about the world and the way I viewed things, I guess.
Yeah, man. Once you start talking about quality, I'm all ears. It's like, well, how do you get more quality? Or what do you do in your quality time? How do you make it more quality? I love it. And I wanted to ask you, Michelle. You mentioned meditation a few times. What time of day do you find best to meditate, and how do you keep the discipline up? Like, I'm cool with like 2 days in a row. And it's like, now here's someone like you, one of our leaders, bring it up all the time. They're like, oh, I meditate every day at 6 a.m. What are your best practices for discipline, and what time of day do you do it?
Yeah, I am not disciplined at all. At all.
Hey.
All right, we have a hope. We have hope. All right.
Yeah, so I have a timer on or an alert on my phone that tells me at 9 o'clock every morning I should meditate for 23 minutes. I often just turn that notification off, and then I do it when I know I need it. I do it when I can feel my heart start beating faster. I do it when might be sad or frustrated, and I just, in the moment, take 2 or 3 minutes as opposed to 23 minutes in the morning. On the weekends, I like to just sit up and do it right before I put my feet on the floor. But I do it when I need it.
When you need it, that's more my style, I think, Kevin. Yeah,
I was just going to say, but like, she's also got to be very in tune with herself, right? She said, when my heartbeat rate, like everybody else in the world is like, I can't even feel my heart beat normally. So I wouldn't even know what to look for when to say, I need this, right? And I think it's because you're very in tune with your body. And some people are distracted and we're doing other things, or not treating our body like a temple with some of the other things that we're doing to it. But it seems like you really know your body and are in tune with it and are listening to what your body is telling you that it needs.
Yeah, I think that comes from yoga, honestly. I started that in my 20s, and I've always gone at least once a week. But the more you do yoga, you just become so familiar with every aspect of your body that you know when you need a break. Or you should. I mean, that should be one of the outcomes of doing practice that like that.
I wonder if we polled the audience, how many people feel familiar with their own body right now and mind. That would be a good poll
Oh,
question.
there you go. There's your opening question for the next. Are you familiar with your body? And how familiar are you?
Michelle, we always like to talk about, failing forward, falling forward, or whatnot. I always like to ask our CEOs, presidents, leaders on this show, what's one weakness you're working on right now?
Oh, there's a long list, but the one that comes to mind is patience. I think my desire for excellent quality work can be a challenge for people to keep up with or meet my expectations, and I really need to back off and let people get there in their own time.
How have you made yourself comfortable at that empowerment moment? Because that is now where you're shifting your power, right? I like to control things. I like to make sure that they're done in a certain way and it's checked. But it's also a sense of that's where we're now great going into micromanagement, right? And we're again telling them what they need to do instead of celebrating their collective intelligence, the collaboration, and their innovation themselves. How do you get yourself comfortable with that transition of power over to that next individual to do it the way that they see best?
Right. I try to, and of course, this is what I'm working on. I'm trying to just illustrate the outcome of where I want us to be and not dictate how to get
Love
there.
Love that. Illustrate the outcome.
So what do you think your employees love most about you?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think the ones who I work closest with know that I'm committed and that I have their back. I think the ones that I don't necessarily work with as close with day to day, I think that they know they can be confident that I'm going to make the right decisions for the business, and that they can feel confident that I have their families in mind as we make decisions at the company. So I need to build a company that's going to thrive. And sometimes that makes, I have to make hard decisions, but they're made for the collective benefit of the organization.
Love it. And where do you get this super competitive mindset from? Kevin and I, don't worry, you're in a like-minded group right here. It's like I don't leave this chair sometimes, the sun goes down and it's because I want it my way. And I'm like you just said, I gotta back up. And I haven't even voiced anything to people. I can just feel my energy from here to across to Plano to McKinney. I'm like, do people feel me right now?
They feel you. Yeah.
I've been apologizing to my coworker lately. Yeah.
We carry it in our face, so yeah.
Well, I think when I can transition in that negative mindset, I can catch myself if I am doing that reflection. And I know, Michelle, you were talking about doing those reflections earlier, but I can catch myself when I'm in that negative snowfall almost, right? And it's like oh my God, no, the world is coming to an end. And then pretty much I have to stop and reflect and just say, okay, what am I grateful for? And it almost is that reset button for me. How do you reset? How do you reframe? How do you adjust kind of in the moment to create that trust and those connections that you're talking about with your employees?
I think it's about being present and breathing a lot, because if I'm coming in as the force that I know I can be, if I don't breathe, my whole essence is going to be on fire. So, um, so Tyler, the way you were describing it, like that's how I feel inside a lot. I know that's frightening to a lot of people. So I just really just need to chill. I need to bring my yoga with me into the office, I guess. And that's what I try to do. I try to bring that sense of calm and positivity and peace, gratitude with me every day. And
Awesome.
people either like it or they don't.
Yeah, and I find if I sweat, it's all good. Like find a way to sweat is what I tell myself.
Really?
And like, yeah, like run. I got this bike that I've been hammering out here on the patio. But that's where I come to find me feeling so like, dude, lay off. Like that's when I feel like there's this book called Power Now. I just gotta dive into this. I've never read it, but that's what I am. I'm like, if I can do it now, I think everyone else should do it now. Why aren't we all doing it now? And I work in a competitive environment of speed to market. But sometimes once I get some exercise in me, it's I don't want to say I feel like an idiot, but my goodness, it's like it's like it's pretty close. It's like and I haven't even like voiced any of it. It's just the competitive nature. And I think I asked you, Michelle, where do you get that drive from? Did you grow up like before you hit the business school in Buffalo?
I was always, raising money for the Girl Scouts or raising money for I think I did some kind of dance-a-thon thing that I organized to raise money for, I don't know, anti-apartheid efforts. And I mean, like just crazy things so I was always leading something, leading an effort to build the student council lounge for seniors in our high school. I was always driving some kind of change. And I think it came from my parents had a really strong work ethic, but they were also involved in our local politics we lived on a farm and there was a lot of work to be done. So get up, get your work done, and then you can, kick back and relax the rest of the day. So I think that's where it all comes from.
Powerful. And you talk about work ethic, because I think work ethic sometimes gets mixed up with passion and purpose. Because sometimes I think we think somebody, your earlier point, you don't really know what that person's going through. And I hear it often when other generations talk about millennials and then the Gen Z, just because they're different, you guys have no work ethic. And it's this broad brush stroke across the entire generation. And it's kind of, you sit back and how do I not take offense to that, right? You obviously don't know me. You've never worked with me before. I don't understand. But I'm willing to have that conversation. I think a lot of times when things are said, somebody hears something like that and they shut down to stop having bi-directional communication. How have you seen with your team, given the kind of the hybrid and remote and this flexible work schedule, what changes have you seen in the communication between just your peers? Have you noticed that you actually still need to see people, or is it better to see facial expressions? What types of learning have you seen internally that now you're taking externally, maybe for some of your partners to educate them on how to reconnect with some of these generations from a market perspective?
Yeah, during the pandemic, we instituted cameras on every day. mentality. So even in our client meetings, oh, Lucy, I can't see you today. Is everything okay? Oh, let me turn my camera on. So making sure that we're still connecting visually with each other, I think helps, because you have no idea uh, from a tone of voice how someone's doing. So, anytime we're doing training or working with clients, we're really, beating the drum of, keeping that facial connection with each other. I think with the generations that you were talking about, what I'm noticing, and I think because I have younger kids, so I have a senior in high school, and their value system is totally different than ours. But that doesn't mean he's not a hard worker. He just works differently. And I think we just all have to respect that not everybody's like us. And we need to know what their value systems are, and take the time to, if you don't talk about it, at least try to observe what's important to those that we're working with, and honoring those differences, because it doesn't mean that they're not working any less or less passionately than we are. They're just different. And if everyone was like us, the world would be a very boring
It'd
place.
be boring.
Boring, and we'd probably all kill each other, right? Because we can't all be type A's,
We'd all look
competitive.
like stormtroopers, probably all the same outfits.
Right. So diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of every aspect of a being, I think, is important to have in a workplace, so that you can have that, have those differences elevated and recognizable, so that it benefits the entire group.
Now, what you're talking about, the holy grail of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging there. But it takes an environment for that to happen, right? Organically, almost. What are you, is diversity, equity, and inclusion something that you're passionate about? And what are some of the things that you guys, I guess, have started to do at Tipping Point?
So we do have a DEI committee, but in all honesty, it's one of those things where, we were off to a pretty good start. We got involved in our MAPI as part of United Way connection. And what we've done is we've had a couple co-ops with MCC, our community college, to expose individuals who have never heard of or seen what it's like to work at an ad agency. So giving them the opportunity to co-op and work in this environment exposes them to a new career path, that even if they don't take the career path, they could talk to someone else about the career path. So we've done a little bit of that. I would say it's an area that we need to focus more on in terms of recruiting. Our next positions that we have available, how can we recruit from populations that may not know a lot about the marketing business, and do we have the capacity to do more training? I don't know. It's a struggle. It's not for lack of desire.
Yeah. I think that wonderful opportunity for your Gen Zers there. I think they love to teach others, and I think that they love to teach others what they learn, and they feel like they're arming others with skills and opportunities. And again, DE&I is not easy work, and it just takes the commitment. But hearing you go to the schools tells me how proactive your organization is in piquing the interest in your industry. And Tyler and I, he's on the talent acquisition and recruiting side, and I'm on the human capital side on how we retain that talent and hopefully not need a Tyler to pay Tyler's rates for all that talent, that we can get a little of it organically. But you need to be that proactive. So hearing you say that is really how you make a difference, because a lot of people, I think, took the PR route and just threw it up on their website without any action. And really kind of that false bag of goodies was sold, and then they're surprised when the diversity as quick as it enters leaves. So because they really haven't created that conducive environment, that trusting environment or safe environment for those additional benefits to diversity to take place. Ty, what do you got?
Michelle, so you were talking about those rock bands and Boomer Esiason. We got to go back to your Ohio days. This has been,
Okay.
I've wanted to ask you this for about 30 minutes now.
Okay.
Did you ever meet any of the Nasty Boys on the Reds in the 90s?
No, I did not meet the Nasty Boys. No.
Okay.
But I had a girlfriend who dated one of the Reds, so yeah.
So you know about the Rob Dibble and the Nasty Boys then. All right. Well, what can you share like a fun story you had from those days? Like, I gotta know something about these.
I was gonna ask like the coolest person that she met. She was just rattling them off, and
she was like, oh, just some band.
When you're saying them by their first name, that's
Boomer came in. I'm like, Boomer Esiason's just chilling at your radio system. Do you have any awesome stories that you like tell your kids about, or are you allowed to tell these stories?
I don't think I am allowed to tell a lot of these stories. I will
even better.
I will tell you that we used to go out in a pack. There was about 6 to 8 girls that whenever we got tickets, we all went together. And in terms of great energy, I loved Sarah McLachlan. She was just exuded so much positivity and energy. Sheryl Crow was also another one that was just an aura of cool, right? There were just most of the time it was just a big party.
Awesome.
A lot of fun, yes.
I can't say I was inspired during those days. It was just I had a great time.
Awesome, Michelle. Well, it's been great meeting you. And I'm excited to follow y'all on, I guess, LinkedIn now, and you'll get a bunch of likes from us, going forward.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I appreciate it. I've had a blast. I got to jump here soon, but I just wanted to say thanks for jumping on with us for this, I guess, breakfast break. We'll call this. We usually have a lunch or a brunch with our guests, but this was a good way to start my day. I know that.
All right, namaste.
Namaste. I'm gonna remember that. Thanks so much, Michelle. All kidding aside, thanks so much for saying yes, joining us on the show, and continuing to make that difference in the individual lives of your employees there, as well as the community. I know you're really making a difference, and your help communicating out some of these brands and some of these things that we should be learning about is amazing. Giving some of the small people bigger voices is just what we need to do in order to change our perspective and our opinions. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And thanks again for being a great guest on Timeout with Leaders.
Thanks for your time and inviting me. Have a great day.